Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me in this new episode. And actually, thanks for joining us because I have a guest, as you could probably tell in the title. My guest is Tania. She is an energy healer, empowering women through family constellation work, and she's going to tell us everything about it. So, hi, Tania. Thanks for being here.
Hi, Morgan. Yeah, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So we connected and you started telling me about what you do and I'm like, "Oh my God, this is so fascinating." And like I know a little bit about family constellation, but not much, not much.
Yeah.
And then you were talking about the handwriting and how you help your clients' life change. So let's start from the beginning. How did you start your journey as a business owner, as an energy healer?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's an intense one.
Yeah.
um, Intense one. So in my 20s, being an art student at UCLA, I began to observe my thoughts.
Hmm.
And I began to realize, like, what is this thing that is the mind? It's like, it doesn't stop. It's cyclical. What started first, the chicken or the egg? Like, there's no, definitive answer. And so I started to dive into meditation and reading books like Alan Watts and, um, books on Zen and Eastern philosophy and even and religions. And I began to have these experiences where I'd have where the mind would stop and I would have these moments of no thought.
Hmm.
And it was like, wow, it was so exquisite. And I was like, oh, I want to learn more. How do I access this more fully? And so I ended up in an ashram. I went on this spiritual journey, started doing yoga, and I started doing yoga because I was dealing with some depression, mild depression, and a counselor was like, "You should consider doing yoga," and I was like, "Okay." So I
Hmm.
so I did that, but then it was interesting because like my my whole body began to change, and I was like,
Wow.
"Oh, I got to do this." So I went and I did this yoga teacher training, and it was so um, life changing. And actually, during my training, I had this kundalini awakening. Now, I didn't know at the time that that's what had happened to me. And it was this experience. I describe it as, I got a mantra. And so I was just doing what they told me. Okay, I'm going to sit and I'm going to do this mantra. And I was just like so focused on my desire for awakening was really strong. And so I'm in this meditation and I feel myself getting lighter and lighter, and I see what looked like from the inside, like I was filling up with light, and it felt like I was going higher and higher and higher and higher.
Wow.
And then suddenly I heard this loud roar, like a lion's roar. And I was like, it scared the crap out of me. And I was like, holy shit, what was that? I mean, I never experienced that. So I like immediately shut down I stopped my meditation just like abruptly, like the fear or the way it startled me was so intense. I was like, whoa, what just happened? Um, at the time, I didn't know what was happening. I just thought, wow, that was weird. And I just continued on. But what happened after that is I started to have all these very strange physical symptoms that came out of nowhere. My digestion shut down, my hair was falling out, I lost all this weight, I was having out of body experiences, panic attacks. Like my whole world just turned upside down, and I didn't know which way was up. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know what's happening to me. So I entered this, I just call it the dark night of the soul, where I felt completely cut off from life, from my emotions. Um, and I eventually left the ashram because my health became so bad. I had chronic fatigue, so the thing that helped me the most with this process that I was going through, which was essentially a purification process, but I had zero support. You know, I went to doctors. They couldn't tell me what was going. They just thought it was all in my head. I went to alternative doctors. You know, everything. Nothing worked. And the only thing that gave me some relief is that I found a Reiki practitioner, and she gave me a session. And I remember, I'll never forget going to see her for the first time ever. I had never worked with a clairvoyant. I'd never worked with energy healing or Reiki. It just, someone had recommended it. So I went. And on the drive there, like the kundalini surges were so strong that it was like hitting the top of my head, and it was painful. Like it was just, felt like there was a hammer just, you know, knocking at the top of my head, and I couldn't even sit up straight. So I was like driving like this to my appointment, like,
Wow.
oh my God, like I just got to get there. So I get there, and she lays her hands on me, and it was the first time that I could take a full deep breath, and I just felt finally like relaxed. So I was like, whoa, what is this? You know? And so I worked with her for a long time. Um, I ended up having this encounter with a very spiritual man who was, I say he's a devotee of Christ, really. He prayed over me. I didn't know what was happening. I had no connection with Christ at all. But something happened, and literally overnight, I felt my soul come back. And I just had this profound realization that I had spent my whole life trying to please others and to perform for others. I mean, I was extremely talented. I was really good at school. I mean, I was like the teacher's pet, like everything, you know. And I realized that my whole life that I was trying to prove my own worth
Mhm.
and performing for others. And what I realized is that I am loved because I am. And so after this deep, profound opening, and even the dark night of the soul, what was revealed to me, it's like, oh, we are more than what we realize, and there's more to reality than what we can see. And so that was, you know, that was 25 years ago. And so since then, you know, I went on to study Reiki. I went on to um, um, sit with other, you know, masters like, you know, Krunamai and Amachi and Adyashanti. And, you know, I just really just fervently was like, wow, I want to learn more about this. And, you know, how can I felt driven to want to share what I've come to realize and learn modalities that actually really help people. And I discovered that, you know, first it was Reiki, and I found that people were having profound experiences through the sessions that I was giving. And um, let's see, where do I go from here? So yeah, and so throughout all this time, and then I came upon family constellations, you know, this other model. So it's kind of like, you know, that whole quote in the Bible. It said something like, knock and seek and you shall find, knock and I will answer, kind of a thing. So it's like every step of the way, every time like I had a question, like, oh, okay, so I kept learning these modalities that are not commonly known, because I was seeking for solutions to things um, that are not given answers to by the mainstream.
Mm.
So, um, So yeah, over the years, I have found like, okay, what has worked for me is this combination of energy healing, and then, I could talk more about the transformative handwriting, which is another tool that I've come across that I have found as I've applied it to myself, has really been transformative. So everything that I bring to my clients is work that I've done on myself,
Mm,
and that I have found like, okay, this is this is good stuff. And I'm sure probably that's probably the case with most people, right? Like they find something that is like, oh wow, this works, and I want to share this, and so that's how that's how I've come to arrive to all of this, and it's an ongoing journey. It's not
mm.
like they say like chop wood, carry water. You have maybe a profound experience or a deep insight or an awakening, uh, and it's really like, okay, what's next? It's just an ongoing journey.
Yeah,
So
definitely, yeah. And I really find it fascinating about the transformative handwriting that you do because, like you and I were discussing like a few years ago, cannot remember, maybe in 2018 or something like that,
yeah,
I really became annoyed with my own handwriting.
uh-huh,
And it's like, well, being left-handed, the cliche with left-handed people. I mean, at least here in
oh
France, it's say that
yeah,
left-handed people have terrible handwriting. I don't want to generalize. I'm not saying it's the case for everyone. I'm just talking about cliche. But
yeah,
if there was a cliche, I was the cliche, because, I had a very small handwriting and all of that. And then I'm like, oh,
hmm,
this is also the analogy for like if you're once again, in my case, I had a very small handwriting, like very introverted. Like I wasn't taking the space that was mine in society. I was withdrawn. So my handwriting was small, when
yeah,
you learn how to write and things like that.
yeah,
So I think it was in 2018. I'm like, no, that that's ridiculous. I hate my handwriting. So I retaught myself how to write in a way that would make me happy. And now
mm,
I cannot say I love my handwriting, but I'm getting there, I mean, I like it better, let's say.
uh-huh,
And then you and I met, and I'm like, wow, that's amazing because I had never really, yes, of course, it's about muscular memory, right? Like
yeah,
wiring the brain and all of that. But like the way you introduced it to me was even deeper about the way some letters are shaped and
yeah,
things like that. So, would you like to tell us a little bit more about this
yeah,
and how you help your clients through this as well
yeah.
as your other
Oh
modalities?
yeah, yeah. So when you were saying, oh, my handwriting's really small, so a
It
graphologist
was,
would look at
yeah.
that and say, you don't want to be seen.
Mm. Yeah, that was the
People that
case.
people that write really small, they don't want to. They're terrified of being seen. So so it gets revealed. So yeah, there's so many different things that show up in the handwriting. Your gifts, your talents, and also your challenges. Um, and I wanted to touch upon a little bit about left-hand writers.
Oh,
So, because they are unique, my husband's a left-hand writer. I've worked with a couple of people who are left-handed writers. I'm like, it's really interesting how many left-handers I've been meeting
right?
recently. Um, but I'll give an example. So, in the handwriting I teach, let's just talk about the letter T, okay, the capital T.
Okay.
So, as children, when we write in cursive, the lowercase t, we're taught to cross the letter T in the middle of it, right? You don't
Oh,
put the crossbar at the top. You cross it in the middle. You make a cross like this, right?
okay. Well, we're
Yeah?
taught differently in France, at least. We are
Do
taught
you,
like the bar being on the at the top and not
okay.
crossing completely the like it was just so I'm showing with my fingers, so of course
Yeah,
you
but it's,
cannot see in the podcast,
yeah,
but like this is the bar and the we are only like
yeah.
only this, like
Okay.
this.
So you might have been taught a different, well, here in the States, you're taught to cross it like right and really pretty far
Okay.
down low, like in the middle. And so what that does, one, it cuts off your potential,
Oh.
cuts off your potential. Um, And as a left-handed writer, a lot, and I don't know if this is the case for you, but most left-handed writers, when they cross their T's, instead of going from left to right, they go from right to left.
Yeah, that's
Is
from
that the
right to
case for
left. Yeah,
you?
that's what I do. Yeah.
Right to left, because it makes sense when it just feels comfortable to go like
Right.
this instead of like that.
Yeah.
Well, when you do that, you are going into the past. And it's
Oh,
and
right.
there is a tendency for self-sabotage.
Oh.
Now, it's, um, so when you change it from left to right, you are rewiring your brain in a way that you are basically creating a new neural pathway that orients you to be looking towards and moving towards the future.
Wow, that's
So
fascinating.
when you cross it at the top and you're crossing it from left to right, move towards the future. And when that crossbar is at the top, you are embodying your fullest potential. You are making that it's a stand. And and the letter T, for example, it's the letter of the visionary.
Mm.
So it's all about vision. It's all about your um, your I'm sorry, I'm hang on. It is that your spiritual stature fuels your vision. So, those upper zones, so in the handwriting, there's different zones, right? There's some letters
Mhm.
that go all the way to top, some that go below the baseline. There's letters that are more in the mid zone. So each of those zones correlate to different parts of the body. The upper zone, that's all about like spirit, um, being philosophical, like reaching um, up towards the divine. Mid zone is about how you interact in the world. Lower zones have to do with your sexual energy, your physical energy. Just think of your roots. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, there's so many things like what when I came across this, what blew my mind the most. So I have a background in Waldorf education. So I am an
In what, sorry?
educator. I have a background in Waldorf education, so I'm also a teacher. So
Okay.
when I studied Rudolf Steiner, he talked the core thing about Waldorf education is this connection between the head, the heart, and the hands, right? That's what makes us unique as human beings is that connection. Um, and you want to educate children from those three different aspects. So you don't want to just educate the brain, right? Um, you want the brain to be connected to the heart, to be connected to the hand, And so he there's a subject in Waldorf education that is taught to children, which is form drawing. So I already had an understanding of the importance of the hand, moving the hand on the paper through form drawing. So then looking at handwriting through that lens, and when it was explained to me that I, as a child, and everyone in the United States that's my age or younger, um, was taught the Palmer method of handwriting. And the Palmer method is an extremely unhealthy form of handwriting. It's got different formations that what it does is, and um, this has been proven through graphology, which is a science. It's used in forensics. Mostly people know it as, to be used in forensics. Um, that this type of handwriting wires us in such a way, or it creates a society of sheep, basically, herd mentality, the sheep just following, do what you're told. It can foster anxiety, depression, addiction, like all these unhealthy patterns. So when I go back and I think about my own experience, it makes me wonder, wow, like, did I that, you know, because I had unknowingly unhealthy handwriting, did that contribute to my, you know, fear of authority, stuffing my emotions, you know, not reaching my fullest potential, not able to create clear boundaries, you know, all of these things, you know, it makes me pause to wonder, that is that why I went through that dark night of the soul, or at least part of what contributed to it? Probably, I would say probably, uh, because I had I took an old journal of mine and I shared it with uh, a well-known graphologist, and she looked at my handwriting. She's like, "Oh, yeah, you have a lot going on. Like, there's a lot of overwhelm here. Like,
Oh,
you know, and so, you know, how you space your letters, where you write on a page. Um, there's just so much there. And so when I work with clients and I begin to teach them, okay, like, first of all, there's no good or bad handwriting. There's no judgment. It's just there's just different experiences that we're creating, right? So
mhm.
it's not like, oh my God, you have the worst handwriting ever, like blah, 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 blah. It's not that. It's just like, we don't know what we don't know. We
Right.
just, right? So until you start to realize, like, oh, okay, what happens? And so I take clients step by step. Okay, so we're going to start here. You know, we're going to start with this one letter. You know, you're going to take your loops out of your D's. Why? Because lowercase d is all about self-identity, and you don't want to be hiding things from yourself. So what begins to happen, and so it's not like, this practice isn't like, it doesn't require you to believe me, right? In fact, I wouldn't want you to believe me. I wouldn't want you to just blindly
Mm.
believe everything I tell you. It's like, for example, you know, I give someone the lowercase d, and I'll say, okay, so you need to take out the loop in your lowercase d and form it this way, because the lowercase d is all about self-identity. And you don't want to, the loop in there is hiding, you're hiding things from yourself. You're lying to yourself. So, you know, taking that loop out. So what begins to happen is, the whatever issues that are in the tissues will begin to come up to be healed. So it is this transformative process, and naturally you'll begin to let go of things that no longer serve you. And it's not it's so subtle and graceful, and a gentle way of allowing things that need to be let go to just naturally fall away. So for myself, for example, you know, I've been doing the handwriting every day for a couple years now. And one of my core issues has always been, ever since I was like an infant, is digestive issues. And it's definitely something I've inherited from my mother. She had digestive issues. I had digestive issues. And so, like, the diet was always something that I struggled with. You know, it's like, okay, yes, I know I have, you know, candida. I'm supposed to eliminate wheat and dairy, but oh my gosh, but I'm so addicted to those things. I don't want to let them go. And so every time I would try to go on a candida diet, I was like at battle with myself. It was like I was miserable. Yes, I was avoiding all those things, but my mind was still like constantly craving those things, right?
Mm.
And honestly, it wasn't until I changed my handwriting where I was like, okay, yeah, I'm ready to deal with these digestive issues. And since then, and since I've like, so yeah, you know, currently I'm working with a naturopath. I'm like, okay, you know, I told her my symptoms. She's like, yeah, you have candida. I got a test. I'm like, yep, I knew that already. And she's like, okay, well, and I already know what I'm going to have to do. So I get it. I'm going to have to cut all these things out. But the difference of going at it this time, instead of falling back, falling off the horse, falling off the wagon, and um, falling back into old patterns and being tempted and letting myself be tempted. I found since, and I know it's the handwriting, now that I'm going on this healing journey with my diet, my gut, I don't have that resistance anymore. It's like it feels, it's easy. Like I don't even think about sugar or going like, oh, I really want a chocolate chip cookie, and lamenting over it. It's just like, yeah, whatever. I'm just not eating sugar anymore, and I'm feeling much better. And
Wonderful.
so things like that can happen, and it can change your relationships too. I mean, I will say that my partner, I he's someone that he's we're very opposite. Like I love doing all new things, and he's like, I just have my way, and I'm really good at what I do, and this is how I do it, and I don't like I don't want to change, you know, reinvent the wheel, let's say. Um, but he's like I said, he's a left-handed writer, so at first he was extremely resistant. I'm like, honey, you've got to do this. Just try this. Just write these letters for me. Like just and he would do it, but he wouldn't do it every day. I mean, it was like pulling teeth. And I'll admit I definitely um, was kind of imposing my will upon him, so to speak. But I was like, damn it, no, this is good. And so he finally acquiesced and he started changing his handwriting. He's like, oh yeah, I definitely feel it. I can feel the shift. And what I have come to notice is that it has brought greater harmony into our relationship. So my husband's name is Carl. So most people have what they call in graphology hooks in their C's. And what's so funny to me is that when I had my handwriting analyzed, she told me, she looked at my handwriting, she's like, I don't know why my thumb, oh, interesting. Do you know why? She said, do you butt heads with your partner? I was like, oh my God, yes, all the time. We're butting heads all the time. She's like, well, it's because the hook's in your C. So we're going to take those hooks out of your C. And so of course, I had my husband, okay, take this hook out of your C and just do your C's this way. And definitely less headbutting, we're less argumentative. It's really interesting, really interesting. So this handwriting truly can change all aspects of your life. So not only relationships, the letters are connected to the physical body. So healing, using the letters to heal, help assist in healing physical symptoms, boosting your self-esteem, even addressing, your relationship to abundance, things like that. It's all there. So it's something I'm super excited about. And what I love about it, it's tangible. It's not like, okay, you're going to have to sit and you're going to have to be really good at visualizing. And I'm not discounting visualization as a method for healing and changing your life. I do visualizations for myself. It's definitely another tool that can be used. But for people that struggle with things, that struggle with meditation, like, oh, meditation, like my husband doesn't meditate. For him, meditation is going out and going for a hike and being in nature. Like he's not going to sit there and do a mantra or sit cross-legged and be in
Right.
silence.
To
Like
each
he's going to
their
fall,
own, right?
yeah, he's going to
Yeah.
fall asleep,
Mm-hmm.
But this, the handwriting practice it's tangible, it's simple, it doesn't require that you have to spend, an hour at it every day. It's like my handwriting practice, it takes me 10 minutes, bare minimum, 10 minutes every morning. I do it, I'm done, and I let it go, and I just live my day. Um, each of the letters has a letter of, or has a declaration of intent. So each letter has a meaning. Like I had said, the letter T is about, uh, my spiritual stature is in alignment, fuels my vision, right? Each letter has a declaration of intent. Each letter is connected to a spirit animal, an angel. Like it's it's so profound. And so what was so what again, like everything that I've learned, I have tested on myself and
Mhm.
I investigate myself.
Right.
So I remember one time I was inscribing a certain letter and, working with my mentor, I had this dream about a white hummingbird. I was like, huh, that's interesting. And there was this whole dream about this white hummingbird in my bedroom, and I was having to free the white hummingbird. It got caught in a cage, like all this stuff. And I shared it with my mentor, and she's like, oh, did you know that the hummingbird is associated with this letter? I can't recall what the letter was. She says, that's the letter that you've been writing. And I was like, what? So
Wow.
it's like archetypal. I mean, it's deep. It's like, when you think of Joseph Campbell and the archetypes, right? And myths and things like that. It's part of the collective consciousness. It's
Hmm.
the same thing with letters. So they like there's no way that somehow in my subconscious mind, because I was writing that certain letter, it invoked the hummingbird in my subconscious mind, so I had to dream about it. But I didn't know that consciously. So
Mm.
so to me it was like this confirmation of, okay, this stuff is really deep.
Right.
Um, and it really is. Um, it's about getting out of the ego. So this transformation, it's not. Um, it's getting the ego out of the way and reconnecting you to who you really are. So those innate, noble soul qualities that you have already within you, they're there. It just, the handwriting then allows them to come out as we, you know, heal the issues in the tissues and get rid of the negative programming,
Mm.
rewiring our brains so
Oh,
that
yeah.
we're, getting rid of these patterns that have just been instilled in us since childhood, right?
Yeah.
Uh, anyway, yeah.
Thanks so much for sharing. That was, I was
I
like,
know it's a mouthful.
no, that's great. I have my notebook and pen because I'm taking notes to write the description of the podcast, and I was just drawing T's just, as I was listening to you.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my
It's
God, that's so brilliant. I love this kind of things because, like you said, like the fact you connected with the hummingbird without knowing it is just, like you said, the collective consciousness, the subconscious, because everything is energy and we are constantly tapping into all kinds of things that our brain cannot always fathom because there would be information overload and we would go crazy. So it's just
yeah,
like the filter, but because you were focusing on that, you are ready to receive the symbol. So that's really,
yes,
really cool.
yes.
So how do you like, would you like to tell us more about your services, where people can find you, what type of sessions you offer? I will put everything in the description
Yeah,
anyway for people to click your link and follow you and book sessions with you. But let us know.
yeah. So yeah, I have different ways you can work with me if you're um, interested in learning more about the handwriting. I do have like a 10-day, I call it 10-day discover your soul journey. I think that's what I call it. Anyway, it's a 10-day journey with me one-on-one. I look at your handwriting, I look at your family tree, I look at your name, and basically, give you an analysis
Wow.
and then begin to start to change your handwriting over 10 days. So that gets you started to like, you know, is this something I want to go deeper with? You want to go deeper, then we can. After the 10 days, I have different options. There's that. So I have also a 3-month program. It's called Reignite Your Life. It's a one-on-one program. and we do a really deep dive into family constellations. So I find the family constellations and the handwriting really work well together.
Mm.
Um, and so you receive a family constellation session with me every other week. So you get 6 family constellation sessions, and we really dive into, okay, what are the things that are holding you back from pursuing your desires and connecting and connecting to your soul purpose, and really, you know, getting out of being stuck in the rut and not feeling fulfilled. So like really tapping into, okay, what are your core desires? What is it that you really want to be doing? Okay, so what's holding you back? And so in the family constellations work, we look at and really pinpoint, okay, where did that originate? Because it didn't start with you. It
Mm.
started with your parents, your
Right.
grandparents, great parents, on in this. So we're gonna shift that. And so you have 6 sessions to kind of dive into what is showing up and
Mm.
transforming that. And then we dive, get into the handwriting. I start coaching you on how to, giving you certain letters that you can practice every day. And then you also get what I call New Earth Consciousness Soul Charts. So that's quantum energy work, where we work with your intentions and shifting the really the quantum fabric, the energy that is within you and around you, so that your intentions can then anchor in more deeply, uh, and your the healing and transformation manifestation that you're seeking can actually begin to show up. And then you also get we get daily access to me via WhatsApp. So as things come up, you can message me back and forth. You can share your handwriting with me. Um, process the family constellations work that we've had together. And so there's that option. My website is newearthconsciousness.com. Um, you can certainly book one-off sessions if you just want a singular family constellation session. That's available. If you want an energy healing session, that's available. Um, and right now, I don't have the handwriting up on my website. So if that's something that you're interested in, you'll have to just send me an email or message me on Facebook. And yeah, I think that's everything.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, like I said, for everybody listening, I will put all the links in the description so they can follow you, or you like on Facebook. Well, you will give me all the
yeah,
links anyway. I don't know if you're on Instagram, but you're on Facebook for sure because that's where we met,
yeah,
and your website and all of that. So, this is really fascinating. Thank you so much. And I also love what you said about names. And you and I had started talking about that, but we didn't cover this in the podcast, but maybe another episode for another day. Because
yeah,
for sure the impact of our name is so big. That's also something that is fascinating, how everything shapes us. Like it's always what came first, the chicken or the egg. Like, did you choose this name because you chose these lessons, or or did this lesson come because you have this name? So it's so fascinating.
yeah.
So thank you very, very much for having been my guest. It was really nice. I really appreciate. So everybody make sure to go and check Tania, check the description. Thank you so much, Tania, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Morgan. Goodbye,
Bye.
everyone.